Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Cook with NAKIE. I hope everybody is doing well. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. On today's menu, we're making authentic Ghanaian Palm Nut Soup, the real deal. Do not go anywhere, get your seat and let's get started. So for our ingredients, we need our palm nuts. So this is the palm nut that is mixed with the seed and the chaff. We're going to work on that later. And also we have our baked fish. I have my baked croaker right there. I have my baked mackerel. I have my catfish. And I have my herrings. You could use any fish of your type. I also have my fresh goat meat and smoked turkey wings. I have my fresh tomatoes, 3 of them, half onion, 4 scotch bonnet pepper. I also have my ginger and onion paste. I have these 3 mixed ginger, onion and garlic powder, and I have my shrimp tablets. So when I got this palm nut, it was super frozen. I have to thaw this overnight. So at this point, I'm going to add hot water to it to separate the cream from the chaff and the seed. We only need the cream. That's why you have to separate it. So we're going to do this by adding hot water to it. This is going to melt the cream and it's going to be easy for us to separate it. And this is how we used to make it back home in Ghana. So at this point, I use a knife to separate it. This is because the cream is mixed with the chaff and we want the cream. So when we add the hot water, we want the hot water to melt all the cream. So that's the reason I'm using the knife to cut it. So you let this sit for about 5 minutes and I'm adding warm water. This is because I'm going to be using my hand to take out the chaff and I don't want it too hot because it's going to burn. So I added warm water to it. Let this sit for additional 5 to 10 minutes or till you're comfortable to use your hand to mix it. And this is exactly how I'm doing it. And also make sure you rub the chaff together because you want to take all the cream out. We need the cream for the soup, so when you're taking the chaff out, just rub it together and make sure all the cream come out. And remember, the seed is also mixed together with the chaff, so while you're taking the chaff out, make sure you separate the seed from it as well. So I bought this from the African store. I went to the African market one day to buy my stuff and I saw this in the freezer section and I'm like, oh, Ivory Coast palm nuts. I've never tried that before. Let me just buy one and see how that goes. So I made the soup with it and it was so good. It smells really good, like Ghana palm nut soup. So I went back to see if they had more and when I went, it was sold out. It was sold out. I was like, what? So anytime I go back, I ask them, they tell me they're gonna get more, but they never have it. They always say they're gonna let me know if they get it, but guys, I'll let you know as soon as they get it, and I'll let you also know just in case you want some for your palm nut soup. So at this point, I'm gonna strain the liquid because there's a little bit of chaff underneath, so I'm gonna strain it. And this is how I do it. Make sure you tap it a little bit because of the chaff, it doesn't go all the way. So if you don't tap the strainer, it doesn't go faster. So you just tap it or shake it a little bit. So this is the palm kernel. Usually you could use the palm kernel also for oil, or you could just crack it open and chew the fruit in it. Alright, so I washed my strainer because I'm going to restrain this again to make sure there's no chaff or any residue in it. So with our chaff, I'm going to add more warm water to it because I want to make sure all the cream is out. I want to extract all the cream for the soup. So I'm going to add a little bit of warm water and squeeze it and make sure all the cream comes out. Usually back home in Ghana, we're going to pound it again, but because we're here, I don't have that, so I'm just going to mix it with water and just take out all the cream from it. Usually back home in Ghana, in the village, after extracting all the cream out from the chaff, you dry the chaff, you have a clay pot, you smoke some of the chaff underneath the clay pot, and you add water to it, into your clay pot I mean, and that water tastes really good. It adds some flavor to the water. I wish I had the clay pot here so I could do that, but since I don't have it, I had to throw this away, guys. So this is how the chaff looked like after we extracted all the cream from it. I'm going to strain that, and look at all that. We don't need that in our soup, guys. Throw that away. Now our mixture is ready, guys. Now let's get started with our soup. Okay, so now I'm gonna start cooking my fresh goat meat. You could use any meat of your choice. If you don't prefer the meat, just omit that. And this is our ginger and onion paste. And this is our 3 mix onga mix. This is ginger, onion, and garlic. I'm gonna use about 1 tablespoon. And remember, you could use any seasoning of your choice. And I added about 2 cups of water, and we're gonna cook this for about 10 minutes. Give this a stir and make sure everything is well mixed. We're gonna cover this and let this cook for about 10 minutes. So in about 10 minutes, we're gonna give this a stir, and now we're gonna add our palm nut juice to it. And be careful when you're pouring it. You don't want it to splash on you. And usually after this palm juice sit for a while, there's this black residue that settles at the bottom. So when you're pouring it, be careful. Look at what, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So make sure you don't pour all that into the soup. Now I'm adding my fresh tomatoes to it. I'm gonna add my scotch bonnet pepper and my half onion. With the scotch bonnet pepper, if you don't want too much spicy, do not add too much, just add 1 or 2. We're gonna cover this halfway and let this cook till the vegetables are tender. Now our vegetables are done. You could tell by the skin coming off. I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna blend all together, and I'm gonna pour it back to the soup. Usually when it's a half onion and you put it in your soup, it's sometimes separate, so make sure you look for all the onions that are separated in the soup. Take it out and make sure you blend everything together. Now I'm pouring all my mixture, the blended tomatoes, pepper, and onion into the soup. You make sure you give that a stir. And now we're gonna add our turkey. This is our smoked turkey. You could use any fish, any meat of your choice. You could use just chicken, anything you prefer. So now I'm adding my baked mackerel, and I'm going to add my baked croquette to it. Usually I buy a lot of fish and I bake them and I store them in my freezer, so I make my cooking process easier. I don't always have to bake when I'm cooking, so I always have fish in my freezer when I'm ready to cook. I'm now going to add my smoked catfish that is adjoining to it, and I'm going to also add my small dry herrings to it. I know you probably say, hey, that's a lot of fish in that soup. Yes, it's palm nut soup, loaded up with some fish, with some meat. Make sure your soup is loaded with some protein. Look at that soup. I'm adding my shrimp tablet, guys. I also added a little bit of salt. I think that video did not come up. Yeah, so make sure you taste for salt and add a little bit if you need it. And make sure you give that a stir. And let this cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. And your soup will be done. So in about 10 to 15 minutes later, our soup is ready, guys. And look at all the oil that settles on top. You could use some of this oil, scoop some out, and use some for your sauces for any stew of your choice. And look at that soup. It was so good. It smells so good and tastes delicious. You could have this soup with your fufu, with your gari, with your banku, with your rice balls or emotuo, and I had mine with my emotuo, that's the rice balls, and it was so good, guys. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Until I come your way next time, this is Cook with NAKIE. Be good to yourself, be good to everybody. It goes a long way.